Welcome to the Comedy Here Often podcast. I'm your host, Kevvy. This week on the show, my guest is Simon King. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube.
I used to put so much wax in my hair, when it was short. I used to, back in the early 2000s. I used to have Astro Boy wax. It was shiny as all hell. You could land a helicopter on it in the snow. It was great.
What was your inspiration for doing it that way?
Someone said to me, add height to your head to look less like a bowling ball, and then I took it way too fucking literally.
Was that at a roast?
When you are naturally gifted with a giant round head, I'm gonna paint my head like the Earth one day and be like, see, it's not flat. It's just literally is the dumbest, biggest, roundest head. Oh, it's stupid. Remember Doug from Doug and the Slugs?
Yeah.
Remember how big his head was?
I don't remember.
And he was
Yeah, we're recording. What's going on? Okay.
Oh, yay, thank you.
What are those posters for?
Oh, I can't imagine. That looks like a treat of a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see.
Here we go. Here's where we announce it.
I'm gonna accidentally leave these here.
Yeah. He just does the whole interview like that.
The best place to put them, right? I should just put them on a sandwich board. What could possibly be happening? I've turned into a cigarette package.
What is?
That came out all right.
What is this for, Simon? Let's announce it.
You know what I thought? I thought my legacy is going to be little or nothing, right? No. Let's be realistic about it.
You're my hero.
Well, you got to raise your standards. If I'm in your Justice League, that's a shitty Justice League.
You and Batman.
It's the Just Us League. No, I have me and Batman. Neither of us has superpowers, but he's just a rich guy, which is apparently a superpower. Anyway, well that's what beats Superman. Yeah. Lex Luthor is just a rich guy. That's his entire power. Yeah. Versus the most powerful force in the universe. He's just a rich real estate dude. He's basically Trump.
Lex Luthor looks like Caillou. Remember that character?
He does look like Caillou.
Child.
That's the origin story.
Pull it up, Alexi.
Lex
Alexi,
Luthor.
This is what she does.
Alexi Luthor. There you go. That's it.
I had friends.
Yes. That's it. We finished.
I had friends in high school who told me that Caillou had cancer and that's why he was bald, and I still don't know if they're just joking or not.
My buddy had a joke that's why the bananas in pajamas were always in pajamas.
They have cancer?
They all had cancer. I was like, oh no. Oh, that's horrendous.
Because they like napping.
It really changes that entire bananas in pajamas. Oh yeah, no, totally, yeah.
Spell his name for the
yeah, Caillou.
See, when you said Doug and the Slugs earlier, I thought you were going to talk about Doug Funny, and he also looks like Caillou.
Doug Funny?
You remember the Nickelodeon show Doug?
I do not remember Doug.
It was like a really tame Simpsons, and then
like the new Simpsons.
Exactly. Hey, I just heard Ari Shaffir say that The Simpsons at a certain point became a children's show.
It did.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Was that a big influence on you as a kid, Simpsons?
The funny thing is not really, because I didn't start watching it until I was probably in my teens.
Okay.
Because I'm old.
No.
So I was born in 1977. So for me, Simpsons, I was already probably 10 or 11 years old when The Simpsons came out. So I probably didn't really notice it until I was we weren't a big TV household.
Oh, yeah.
We were mostly just all yelling all at the same time in different directions of the house.
Well, you're all performing.
That's where comedy comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Screaming at each other.
Please pay attention to me. And pay attention to me December 14th. The subtlest segues in the game.
Hell of a plug. Let's see how many
floating around like a screensaver.
It's at the Biltmore.
It is the Biltmore.
It's Simon King's filmed special.
Yeah, I'm filming a new special. So what I did was I put out camera 1, camera 2. Anyway, I put out. I never know which one to go to. So I put out a television special, a download special, a couple of albums and everything. And then the last couple of years, I just did some funny, silly albums just for fun. But this is the one I've been trying to get made for a while. So this is the one that I think is indicative of where I'm at as a comic, and it's the biggest special I've ever done. We're spending some real money on it, having some real people come in, do some real stuff. There's a lot of talent involved. I'm really proud of where we've gotten so far, and now all I got to do is be funny, which I should be able to do that for about half the time. So just talking himself up. No, I'm really excited for this one. I think this is going to be the big one. It's my 20th year in stand-up.
Wow.
In February is my 20th anniversary. So
congratulations.
This is the one that we're trying to do. To kind of that's the what I call is my all eggs in one basket special.
Okay. And it's Comedy Here Often's first special.
I'm excited for that too. Yeah. That's how cool is that? This is the inaugural. I mean, done lots of albums and stuff, but this is the inaugural. Let's put this on film.
Yeah.
And you picked quite possibly the most attractive person you could. You're like, because I see what you're doing. You start low. You're gonna end up with someone. You're gonna end up with like a Ross Dowk or someone. You're starting here, just making sure. Well, if we can make him look good on 4K, then we're gonna get him to look good.
Shout out to Ross.
He knows he's good looking. He's aware.
Wow. So that's December 14th.
December 14th.
Biltmore. Tickets are on sale.
Yeah, there's 2 shows, an 8 and a 10:30, and both will be great. I think for me, I always feel like the late show's a little more fun.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to be for the little more fun, cut loose, I'll probably do a little. We have a little less turnaround on the late show, so we can kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Let's get
Somebody gets taken to the hospital.
the self-esteem police. They're here to help me. That guy's so sad inside. I don't know why Tracy Morgan is. Tracy Morgan of the self-esteem police.
I feel like
Gonna get your chin up. Both chins. All 3 chins.
I'm gonna get them pregnant.
Get those chin. Get your face. Is your head pregnant?
She just
got a round head.
She just turn off the cameras and be like, Tracy Morgan came in. Just do that.
Hey, I'm glad. I'm here often, too.
I feel like now that you're not allowed to do a Cosby impression, Tracy Morgan's the go-to fun voice to do.
You can do it. You can only do one, though, which is him in the electric chair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't even turned it on yet, sir. That's the only way I can figure out how to get away with a Cosby impression nowadays, is like if he's being murdered by the state, which I think is appropriate, right?
It is, too.
And I do that. Sometimes I talk about it on stage and I tag with it. I go die blind in prison, and people are like, ooh, harsh. I'm like, harsh? Really? That's always what sets me off.
Too soon.
Like, that Pinochet was fine too. Just die. Anyway, that's the kind of comedy you can expect if you come.
It's funny how nobody really saw it coming, yet he had all those like Spanish fly jokes in the 60s and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, if you go back on the catalog, that guy was creepy as fuck, man. Like, he was a terrifying human. And also, it's always the ones who have the most moral outrage, pull up your pants, stop swearing and everything. I'll take a guy yelling motherfucker once in a while if he's not the worst serial rapist in American history.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just if that's the choices you're giving me.
Like Bill Burr, good guy.
Dude, what does that mean? Dude, why? What do you mean, good guy? What am I, weak?
Put your hand on the mic.
Dude, what the hell? Dude, that guy was a freak.
I love your Bill Burr, Why the Chicken Crossed the Road.
Dude, why? Dude, he was happy. Dude, he was watching chicken sports. And she's like, you should cross the road. And he tries. And he got hit by a truck. She took the fucking eggs. Dude, she took the fucking eggs. Because I figured that's how he would approach that.
Yeah.
He'd be very angry at the lady chicken. He would be pro rooster, I think. Bill, he's like one of my favorite podcasts to listen to because he just I'm just like, yeah, I'm wound up too. Like, it's just like, it's agitated. Like, he does that bit about how he's training his dog and he's like, his energy winds up the dog. And I'm like, yeah, but you do that for everyone who listens to your podcast. Like, we're like, yeah, go get him.
I feel like I relate to it a little too much.
Yeah, me too. There's a lot of it that I'm like, yeah. And then there's some of it I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. But even then, I could hear myself saying that in his voice. Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm just gonna start doing a podcast where I just interview celebrities, but they're just me. I'm just gonna interview me. I mean, like, hey, Bill, how are you? No, dude, I'm fine. just that's it. Just play the drums.
That actually is a great idea.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I should do the Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast where just have that guy. I should do a podcast where he interviews people, which would be hilarious. And then I'm not involved in it in any way. And then when it eventually gets enough of a following, I'll bring myself on as a guest to bump my career.
If I could learn to do a Joe Rogan impression, this is over.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that, but if I could.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a voice that lends itself to an impression, really.
No, it doesn't. It's hard. Like, the ones that are easiest, of course, are the ones that you can, pick up something that they're easy to grab onto. And also what's recognizable. I mean, you can do a perfect impression of someone and no one will know that that's accurate. They want like with Arnold, for instance, they want that deep, thick.
Yours is different than most people's Arnolds.
Well, mine is what he actually sounds like. That's that's the way when he's older now, because I do him older, so I do deeper in the voice. So he's more stretched out and tired. He's been around a while. He's in his 70s now. It's like he used to be able to lift cars, and I can't lick stamps. Does anybody else want a nap and oatmeal?
So no, I was always like, you do the impression of the accurate, so if you can do the person talking, So like my Robin Williams was never, because if you can do the person being extreme, that's the one thing. But that's what works 90% of the time on stage. But if you want to do the thing that's like the, just kind of like talking, like,
Yeah.
So talk like that, anything. Quite big. Hey, how are you? Thanks for being on the podcast. Comedy here often, comedy here everywhere. Okay, I get into it. Okay, that's weird now though.
Jay Moore said it's like a lot of voices just are kind of like his, so that's why he could do a Christopher Walken, because they kind of have a similar voice anyway.
Yeah, that's where I am. That's the ones that are harder are the ones that are sort of more out there, but the ones that are closer, because I could never, and usually what it is, you find a word before, so you find a word you can get into the impression with. So like I couldn't do Arnold, for instance, until I could do, like Jason Statham, the word turkey was the word that,
my favorite animal's the turkey. But before I could do that, I couldn't figure out how to say it. But it's because he used to say Turkish, and then Turkish turkey, and then turkey.
So that's all it is. So you just find the word and then you go.
Man, it's crazy how a good impression brings people such joy.
It's weird, right? It's weird. It's this weird thing, and the weird thing is for me comedically, and that actually weirdly segues back into the special. So what I did was when I started out, I did a lot of impressions and characters. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like cartoony stuff. And I had some point to what I was doing. And then as you get older, you realize the world's a piece of garbage and it's on fire. So then you try. So then you get real angry and then you're like, I hate everything. And then when I drank away the angriest part of my brain, I got to this point where I started to merge the two. So this special is a combination of the sillier, goofier stuff.
Yeah.
So, like goose noises and dumb shit like that, but then also politics and social stuff as well. So that's why this is kind of important to me, is because I spent the first 10 years of my career doing a style one way, and then I put that away and I didn't do impressions or characters for like 5 or 6 years, which is when you're on the road, in the middle of nowhere, it's really easy just to be able to dig out an impression and be like, and you'll be okay.
But you didn't want to use it as a crutch, or why'd you stop doing it?
Well, I stopped doing it because I needed to know I could do it without it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be just as good a comic without as I was with, and then I figure if I put them together, it's like learning two different disciplines in dance or martial arts or something. You kind of have to almost forget the first one to get good at the next one, and then when you combine them, it hopefully works. It seems to be working. I've been running the hour. Well, this has been ready to go for about a year, so I've been running the hour. I put it away for a while, and I've been running it again, and I'm like, I'm really liking it. I'm liking where it is. Still fresh for me, so it's not super topical or anything. I'm not like doing all that. Man, that Hillary, she's never gonna get in. she's kidding herself.
Super topical Hillary
Super
Clinton election
Hillary Clinton material.
A whole special of it.
so this special, it was ready a while ago, and then I just do Obama. That's Stephen Harper. Get a haircut.
I saw. It's funny. A friend of mine let me help curate the comedy stage at a festival once, and I really wanted Eric Andre on it.
Oh,
and
wow.
And he got on, and then he went on stage, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really do stand-up anymore, so my references are a little dated. What do you guys think of this new 311 album?" Like such a weird, dumb reference. Like went over everyone's head.
That's
everyone
amazing.
There was like 18.
Yeah. I did a comedy festival in England, the V-Fest Virgin Music Fest, and it was like everyone. It was like I think the headliner was like churches or something. It was like so everyone there was like 20.
Yeah.
And then we did this comedy stage, which is a tent that seats 3,000 on the ground.
Yeah.
But the way they had it worked out was there was 2 nobody comics and then a very famous comic.
Yeah.
And so it would be like Frankie Boyle and then nobody comics, and then it would be like I don't know who else would be like Jimmy Carr and then nobody comics. So the worst place to be was the place where I was, which was after the famous comic. Some people stick around in the tent, but then they kind of fade away. Yeah. I mean, you're doing 20-minute sets, so about 20 minutes after that, I get on. There's like literally 4 people in a tent that seats 3,000. 2 of them are 14-year-old girls coming down off Molly, and the other 2 people are this weird, like potato-looking couple from the north of England, just sitting. They were sitting toboggan style.
Like
now, back. She was behind him. And this, you got to understand, this is a field. Like, there's no reason for that. It was very strange. Like, he was expecting me to, like, throw something at her or something. I don't know. And I started up, and I started talking about England because I am English, and I was born there, and I was living there at the time where I just moved back, and then I'd gone back. So I had absolutely every right to talk about the shit that I was talking about, but the guy was, like, so, like, mad at me for even mentioning English because he thought I was American, and I kept saying I wasn't American, and I said I was Canadian, but it doesn't matter because I was English. Yeah. And I got into a screaming match with one man,
Wow.
with 25% of the audience, in a 3,000-person tent that's completely empty, while one of the most famous comics in the country watches from the side. And then I came off stage, and he was like, "How'd that go?" I go, "You know how that went." And I went to the beer fridge and I did not come back. Like
Well.
that was the worst show I've ever done, and it was in the middle of. But then I find out later that like that's just the standard fare for those. They're terrible. Like there's footage somewhere. Doug Stanhope, who's arguably the best in the game, getting apples thrown at him at Glastonbury. So they don't come for that. They didn't come for comedy. You know?
I just was listening to Anthony Jeselnik talk about before he had his own audience. He went on the tour with Doug Benson opening, and he was just walking rooms.
Oh yeah.
And then he opened for Posehn, that made sense, and his crowd liked him.
Didn't we talk about this before? Didn't Jimi Hendrix open for the Monkees?
Yeah.
So there you go.
And Prince opened for Rolling Stones and got booed off.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it is all who your crowd is. And that's kind of what I've managed to carve out a little bit of a niche over time.
Absolutely.
If people actually show up. Canada's one of those places where you'll be like, I'm coming to your town, and you'll advertise and everything. You'll get like 70 people out of 100. And then as soon as the next day, you'll be like, great show last night in blank. And they'll be like, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I was like, dude, I literally spent 3 weeks plastering. They just don't. People don't give a shit.
Not even see that and be like, hey, come to Vancouver.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh.
I was just there.
That's the best one. Yeah, you'll get like an email like 2 weeks later. When are you coming out west? It's like, dude, I'm out west. I'm out west all the time.
Yeah.
Every so often I get one from like the middle of nowhere. Guys like, you should come to something Delaware. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Like, unless you're paying $5,000 a ticket, I don't see. But I always say to them, I was like, get a couple hundred friends together. Yeah, I'll come out. But then anyone who likes my comedy doesn't have a couple hundred friends. There's no fucking way they talk to other people. Like, I've seen. Oh, dude, I went off on one. So every so often I get this. I'll get messages through Facebook from psychos. Not always psychos, but just like the people who feel like at 3:00 in the morning it's appropriate to send you a beheading video, and be like, check this out. What do you think of this? And I'll be like, but like conspiracy, like it doesn't even sound real. I cut off a head, and it sounds like it's like that. And so I was talking about that once on stage at like a dirtbag open mic with like nobody in the audience, and fuck me if one of the guys who did that wasn't there.
Wow.
And he said to me afterwards, he's like, "You talking about me?" I was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh,
like,
no. I don't even want to be in the same room.
He
as
thought
you.
it was really funny, and I was like, "Oh, please don't murder me." yeah, it was like really creepy. So like, I kind of like this whole not being known very well, like not being like underground.
Well,
Which sadly will change when the special comes out that we're filming this. Just turn in one of those TV marketing guys from like the 90s. Beanie Babies are flying off the shelves.
unless you have like a constant stream of
Just
the
a
date
s-
going along the bottom of the video. I heard
Just a crawl, but it's only one piece of information.
December 14th.
We don't need any more information from this guy.
Yeah. I heard Mark Maron say when he started to get really popular, he was like, I think it was Ticketmaster was like, wow, you sell a lot of single tickets to your show.
What does that Andy Kindler say is like the half a house tour, where it's like just enough room for an audience member in her purse, so she can put it back next to her.
That's so funny.
This is funny because it's like you, because I was used to, you play full comedy clubs and you're playing like 300-400 people, but they're not there for you.
Yeah.
And so when you actually change your game, you're down to like 50-100 people, but they're there for you.
Yeah.
So the shows are better for everybody.
Yeah.
And they're much more entertaining, and they're much more, because I don't want to get on like it's a mixed bill. It's like, the MC, she's talking about dating, and the middle guy's talking about cats, and then I come up and I'm like, fine, burn it down. Like some people will like it. Some people are like, yeah, burn it down.
Yeah.
And some people will be like, more cat stuff. And some people are like, more dating stuff. And so there'll be just a lot of confusion as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas when and also it's the difference between talking to a stranger and a friend, right? So like when you talk to a friend, you can just be yourself and you don't have to explain. The reason I made this joke is because 12 years ago, you know,
Yeah.
it's like a video game. You're already halfway through. You've already got all the shit.
Yeah.
But like when you're talking to strangers, you're starting from the beginning. And
Yeah.
it's like I have to spend 10 minutes to explain to you why. And I have to go slower and I have to be more. It's difficult for me.
Yeah.
So I just like to do, and it's. I mean, if everybody loves you, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
In comedy, particularly, I think.
Well, it's not going to be really that unique, probably.
Well, it's like vanilla ice cream is probably the most popular ice cream in the world, but I don't know anyone who's passionate about it.
Yeah.
There's probably some weirdo somewhere on Reddit who's like,
Actually, these beans are perfectly roasted.
just got vanilla in his neckbeard. all of Reddit is just a hive of like incels in basements. Like it's just the worst.
You're popular on there.
Oh my god! You'll post something. It's funny actually. There's a lot of really. It's most of the people who kind of go there and look at stuff and leave, which is fine. Yeah. Like it's really good if you're writing current event stuff to go through and look at stories. It's a very good aggregator. So there's that. And it's good for promotion and stuff like that. But there's also a certain group of people, like, I posted a clip on there, which everyone's like, don't post clips. I'm like, yeah, but the point is 99% of it's positive, to be fair. It is. But you do get this, one guy is like, this is garbage comedy. I know, because I go to comedy every week, and once I did 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, boy! Did ya?
Well, I guess you're an expert then,
Could you imagine just being, like, don't do that in any other job, just being a pilot. Some guy's like, you're a garbage pilot. I have a simulator at home. And one time I took a flight with a guy flying the plane. I know what I'm doing.
Let me in the cockpit.
Yeah, I can handle this.
I'll show you how to do it.
I pull all these levers, and then when you crash, you're like, bleep. I listen to podcasts about how to fly airplanes. That's what's changed now, too. It's like everyone's coming to shows with this weird, like, back. Like, no, I'm not talking about, because average people don't give a shit about stand-up comedy. Like, maybe 1% of the population gives a shit about stand-up comedy. Like, if you stopped any person on the street and asked them to name 5 famous comics, it would be like Seinfeld, and it would be like, maybe Robin Williams or whatever it would be, Russell Peters. But if you like the actual like nerds, like the locked in neckbeard people, they're like
Vanilla Neckbeard.
They listen to Vanilla Neckbeard, which is my rap name. I just lie down, call this ice pack for my neck. I'm Vanilla Neckbeard. That's my fat John Wick character. I've started to entertain myself with fat. I just basically take celebrities and make them horrendously fat. Celebrities and characters. Fat Greta Thunberg. How dare you? It's always the same voice. It's always the same.
It was very accurate.
As soon as I finish these hash browns, I'm gonna get the guys who killed my dog.
Fat John Wick. I love it. It works with every character. It's pretty. It's a universal thing. Yeah. I was in a car with my buddy, and I made myself laugh so hard at that. He's like, "Why are you laughing so hard at that?" I go, "I really don't know. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I really do." Just John Wick on a scooter, just falling asleep. Yes, because he was in retirement for 5 years, and his wife died. He would be stress eating. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
he would get fat.
And
he wouldn't stay
dog.
ripped. And he would be miserable, right?
Yeah.
And so I figure he's So then, when he goes and breaks the concrete underneath, it's just like cupcakes.
Now he's bad being mad.
Oh man, I can't wait to get fat, dude. That's my retirement plan.
It's good. It's good. I'll tell you right now. If we dropped in the Arctic, I'm gonna outlive you by 30, 40 minutes. I gotta still be there. I'd be like, this guy died.
Had to eat him.
No choice.
This guy.
Yeah, this guy died. Like the helicopter's coming. Don't worry about him. If there's only one seat. Is that Fat John Wick?
You can't bear here. I'm gonna get in your helicopter.
It's like how
John Wick.
Patton Oswalt has that joke about how fat people foods are made for fat people to say. Like,
God.
I will have another nutter butter.
The B word fat.
Bring me a... Do not open the door.
Oh dear, this went off the rails immediately.
I love it.
I think Fat John Wick should have his own podcast.
Tell me more about your story.
I really, for real, think
He falls asleep a lot because of the apnea. He doesn't get a good sleep at night.
the celebrity podcast idea is brilliant.
Yeah.
I should do it. You should do like
do
just a dumb. I like the idea of just Arnold Schwarzenegger interviewing people. Like I'll just do the Arnold Schwartzcast and then wait for him to get mad and send me a cease and desist. What are you gonna do about it?
Are you gonna send me a letter? Go fuck yourself. I'll call his lawyer myself. I know I said send a letter, but I got drunk. I was very sad. I didn't mean it.
There's a metal band and all their songs are Arnold Schwarzenegger lyrics.
Really?
Yeah.
Arnold
Look it up,
Schwarzenegger
Young
singing?
Alexi. I can't remember what they're called, but they have a song called "Get to the Choppa."
Get to the chopper.
Did he ever actually say that? Is that like one of those Beam Me Up Scotty things where it
that's
never
it.
actually got said?
"Beam Me Up, Scotty" was never said in Star
And I
Trek.
said, Scotty, beam me up.
Oh man.
Yeah. Scotty. There's one that you don't. There's some impressions you don't even have to say words. Right, that's all it is.
That's a great Shatner.
That's all, like, there's some you just don't have to say words. You really don't. Their impressions were. Ugh. See?
What's it called, Lexi?
Austrian death machine.
Yeah.
Perfect. This is my parents' name for me. When I was growing up, they used to call me Little Austrian Death Machine, get in here.
But he never got upset about that.
No, I would polish my father's gumboots. And
Someone told me that he has like the redneck Austrian accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the you know how we all that guy talk like that. That's the accent we always make fun of. That apparently his accent is the one that they make fun of. I guess I don't know.
I love on The Simpsons when they make fun of like trashy British people, and their impression of it will be like, "Shine your boots, governor."
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
Yeah. And having lived there, it's accurate. There's a lot of those people. There's a lot of those. Hey, up, lad, how you fucking doing? It's like, all right, get away from me.
I love a good British pub, though.
Oh boy, I love a good British pub. If they didn't close at midnight.
I know. It's
You know what
crazy.
the problem is British people, they drink, like, so I am English. I was born in England. I was raised in Canada after the age of 5, but I grew up English in Canada because my parents were born in England in the 40s. So they're like that generation of British.
Yep.
So like the hardcore, everything's fucked, empire's over British. And they're from Liverpool area. So like legit fucking hardcore. Fucking with fucked, right? And so we, like I grew up with a bottle of wine on the table, but it was never like, we never drank, like I didn't get drunk until I was in my 30s. I used to drink, but I would be able to handle a lot of booze.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was just a misnomer that British people were just piss tanks. And then I went there. Holy fuck. Like, hey, is it quitting time at 5:30? At 5:31, you have a pint in your hand because you want to get as drunk as you can by 8, so you have to go home to deal with your family that you hate because you're in a country that you hate that has no, like, that's just burned out and dead and then now it's tearing itself apart and then you get up and go to work. Like, literally every day, just like Central London, just every bar. They're out on the streets. They're just hammering. But by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, they're done. That's why the bars close at 12. Yeah. But here in Canada, we like drink properly. Like we go out, we're like putting in a shift. Yeah. And if we like it, we throw in overtime. That's how it works. But like at 2 o'clock, like there was an American bar around the corner from where I lived in Crouch End, American bar, and it was an American bar because it had American decorations in it, or what they thought Americans decorated their houses like, which is really weird. It's like, we got fucking Star Wars over there, and that's a picture of a dog, and I'm like, all right. And then so they would do that, and they would play every so often. They would play like Marvin Gaye and stuff because they're real Americans. And that was the place where the lady handed me a pint, and she's like, "Oh, I've not tried that." And she took a sip of my pint and then handed it back to me. And it's like, yeah. But they were open till fucking whenever. Like so I think the laws allow you to stay open late, but they just never do. They just don't give a shit.
I remember my band was on tour in Japan once, and we were there for 2 weeks. And after the first week, someone in my band said to our like tour manager, her name's Karu, and she spoke like pretty good English, but every once in a while things would be lost in translation. Yeah. And I remember someone was like, "Dude, can we go somewhere that has like you know, like our food, like Western food?" And she was like, "Western food?" And then he's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Okay." And then she took us to this place that was like cowboy themed, Western, and there was like a tumbleweed, but all they served was spaghetti. So,
of course,
spaghetti Western.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, just served by Italians made no sense.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh.
that's awesome. Japan's. I've never been to Japan, and I've always wanted to go because it just seems like to me like that kind of place where like it seems like an entire country designed by fever dreams. You know what I mean? Like it's like someone got stung by a hornet sometime around 1800, and then their entire like the whole country will be like this. It's amazing.
I remember I saw David Cross do stand up here once, and he said, "Wow, Vancouver, your city has a lot of unnecessarily complicated architecture."
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. We're just, I mean, every building that goes up is just a middle finger to the rest of Canada. It's like, that's all it is now. It's like, look at this one. It's twisty. We don't give a fuck. Like, you know, you're in an earthquake zone. Who cares? It's already twisty. Like, people actually say that to me. It's like, oh, there could be an earthquake. I'm like, oh, yeah, there could be a winter here every year. And it happens all the time. I don't own snow tires. Go fuck yourself. Like, I love a lot of the rest of Canada, but not the weather. Like, ugh, that's such an old man thing. I don't know. When I was young, global warming.
By the way, I was just making a note to myself that this episode is called "It's Already Twisty."
It's already twisty. Welcome back to It's Already Twisty, the #1 Dutch game show in the world. Come on now, tell me, is this a twisty or not twisty? It feels a twisty. It's twisty. And then he just wins lawn furniture. There's like no reason at all.
It's a game show.
Game show. Welcome back to Thursday. Who do you think is going to take over for Alex Trebek? Because I think even if he doesn't die, I think he's probably going to quit. At this
Steve
point.
Harvey.
Oh my god.
I like watching
fucking
clips
guy.
of Steve Harvey disappointed in the guests of that show. He's so hard on them.
Steve Harvey is just like,
That'd be great.
oh god.
Drew Carey. Who do
oh,
you
yeah.
want to take over?
I don't know. Like it's such an iconic, like that's the game show. Like Wheel of Fortune was a big one, or Wheel of Fortune's a big one, and Price is Right was a big one. Wheel of Fortune will be another big one. I think Jeopardy's like the one.
Yeah.
Because you got to have someone pseudo smart. I think Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory.
Oh, okay.
They'll get Sheldon to take over.
That is a...
Because I don't know whether Jim
That
Parsons
might happen.
is probably quite smart, but I know his character is supposed to be super smart, so it'll just become a parody of itself.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, just do the Sheldon thing. And he'd be like, I'm a real actor. Just do it. It's like, okay.
Simon, do you have any phobias? I'm afraid of drowning.
Well, that's not a phobia. That's a legitimate problem. Like, it's not. Nobody's like, hope I drown. Like,
I think about it.
I know a couple of depressed people, but I don't think anybody's like, can't wait to take a bath. Maybe it's the last one. Like, that's a legitimate. That's not a phobia. I mean, it's a fear. Like, if it's a rational fear, like if you're drinking your coffee slowly. Yeah. Again.
I drown.
That's how Epstein would drown. Yeah. I was found drowned in a coffee.
In a glass of water. You think anyone's ever drowned that?
Yeah, it's for sure that's happened. For sure. I mean, wasn't it T.S. Eliot died from swallowing a bottle cap? So people die in weird ways. Wow. I think it was T.S. Eliot.
What about you? Are you good with heights? Are you good with
I
flying?
used to be good with heights and flying, and I'm not anymore. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why. It's like in the last year even.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I was on a flight to Kitimat a little while ago, and we took off, and then they had to turn around because there was a problem with the plane, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like I was in flight school when I was young. Like I know how it all works.
You went to flight school?
Yeah. My flight school closed before I got my license, but I had a certain amount of time and stuff. I knew
Whoa,
what I was doing.
cool.
Yeah. So like I know what's happening, but maybe that's why. I don't know. But like, and so I like to sit at the back of the plane because I like the ride of it. But I'm okay. I'm not okay with when the plane goes sideways. I'm not good with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I know what's happening there. I'm like, well, this is not good.
What does that mean?
Well, it's basically you're being sucked up into the air. That's the way it works. The Bernoulli's principle works. Is you're being sucked up. You're not being pushed up. You're being sucked up because the air on top. So the air below is moving faster than the air on top, so it's pushing it up, right? That's the way the plane works. And so when it goes like this, it means that it's having. So that's why icing is a problem because it can't maintain an airfoil. If the wings are iced, it changes the airfoil shape and you lose lift, and then you hit things.
This is the most educational episode of this podcast ever.
I'll explain. I'll make it less. So when the airplane is flying in the sky, if the ice gets on the wings, you all fucked up. You can't do that. That's why you don't see any flying ice cream bands. But I don't like. De-Icer. That's what Vanilla Ice's last album was called. He went back to just Rob Van Winkle. It was Van Winkle, right?
Yeah.
That's a rough name to have because it's got a lot of connotation.
No wonder you changed it.
Like if Jeeves, yeah, but Vanilla Ice is also a rough. Like, come on, man, Vanilla Ice sounds like a flavor at 31 Baskin Robbins. give me a Vanilla Ice. Nah, the pants won't fit in the cone. Every time
December
you have to give it
14th.
dum 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 scoop dum 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 scoop. And then Suge Knight throws it up a balcony. Yeah. That's how he slaps it out of your hand up a balcony.
Yeah. Takes the cone's whole entire back catalog.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not bad at flying, but I'm more tense than I used to be. I never used to give a shit at all because the powerlessness of it all. I'm like, well, if something happens. Look, if the engines fail below. When you're climbing out, that's the most dangerous part. When you're coming in, that's the most dangerous part. If the engines fail while you're at altitude, glide ratio means that at 39,000 feet, they got time to figure it out. If a wing drops off, you're fucking dead. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. So that's that. So like if any of that shit happened, like as long as the plane, because anything that can fly can glide, right? So theoretically, if the engines fail, you have time to find somewhere to be. Okay. It doesn't always mean you will, but you have time. Yeah. If on your way up, if the engines fail, then you're gonna stall out and then crash probably. That's the way. So when that bing comes on, when you've hit 10,000 feet, you're super safe. That's when you're fine. But it's just the turbulence going up and out. Like on the way out of Kitimat, we hit an air pocket, and because one of the first flights I ever took was a little Cessna 152, and it's like a little flying Volkswagen, they're little tiny airplanes.
Yeah.
And we hit an air pocket, and we lost about 120 feet of altitude, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's like woo, like that, and then you're down, and then you're like, and then you're in this little tiny box, and we're like, all right, okay, like that's good. But I was like 16 at the time, so I was like, I'm invincible. And now I'm 42. I'm like, I need to update my life insurance. Like,
You're quickly doing it on the
so
phone.
yeah,
Wi-Fi's expensive.
By the way, everything is fine. yeah, everything. I'm not worried right now. Oh, when I got my life insurance, as a joke, when I got my life insurance, the guy said, and obviously, there's a clause you can't kill yourself for 2 years, and I'm like, 2 years? And he's like, what? And I go, I'm kidding. I have a plan. I got a rope guy. Don't worry. It's bad when you got a rope guy. Oh, this stuff, silky smooth. Doesn't even leave a mark.
Oh,
Say Epstein coupon code at discount for 50% off at checkout. Home Depot's got Epstein brand rope now.
yeah.
It'll actually break your neck, which is pretty much impossible. But anyway, I don't know.
Did you have a day job before you were? Because you started doing drama stuff as a teenager, right?
Yeah, so I dropped out of school when I was 16, and then I had to get some gainful employment. So I worked in call centers basically, because that's where they would put people like me.
Yep,
customer
I've worked
service.
there.
And it's real easy. I mean, this is how stupid customer service is. Like, if you actually are nice to people, they're like, he's a genius of customer service. I'm like, no, I just didn't tell old lady to fuck off. Like, I just didn't do that. And they're like, and so I just moved up, and then I moved to Shaw Cable. It was Rogers at the time, and then I stayed there for a while. And I'd started stand up in February of 2000, and I basically kind of wanted to do stand-up then. I was like, well, this is what I want to do. But I had this job, and it was paying me more money than I had any right to earn without a high school diploma. And I kept moving up. And so I was getting this really good wage, and I was like, but I was working at night.
Yeah.
And so I could only do comedy. Like, I got down to the point where I was only working 4 days a week, so I'd have 3 days off.
Yeah.
But the days that the good comedy shows off were always moving. So
Oh,
I did comedy for about 6 months, and then I kind of quit. I stopped doing comedy. I did comedy maybe once a month for 2 years.
Whoa.
And then in 2002, in May 15th, 2002, they called me in the office, and they were doing some restructuring. They offered me either a promotion or a layoff.
Oh, wow.
And the lady that was
Those
my
are
boss.
polar opposite choices.
Yeah, she was basically like, if you take the promotion, you're going to have to be, you're going to be one of us. Like, you're getting a suit, you're doing this stuff. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And then she slid the paper. She goes, you could do what you think you want to do with your life. And I was like, yeah, good decision. And then so absolutely no safety net, nothing. I just packed all my shit in my little scooter at the time. My little scooter.
My scooter got me home.
And then
John Wick?
Yeah, well, I was really miserable. Like, I hated it. It was just so I was square peg round hole. It was not what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I would just spend entire nights just doing like voices on the phone, as I was just like bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't give a shit. Yeah. And so I went home, and it took me a couple months to kind of find my feet, and then I started a show August 2002, and then that was it. So I haven't had a real job, quote unquote, since May 2002. Wow. So if you come to this special, you can help keep that dream alive. I don't know which way the cameras are pointing. It looks like right now they're both pointed this way, and I'm in like some sort of dead zone.
Oh, yeah, you're not even on this episode. Yeah.
Come to this.
And we're also going to cut together the audio from the two shows into a unique album.
Yeah, so we're going to do something different with that, and that's going to be interesting too. So that the actual however platformed it will be, the video TV version. I don't even know what you say anymore.
Yeah.
Video.
No, you're right.
I put something. I was like, I need to tape a set, and everyone's like, tape. I'm like, I don't.
What do you want from me?
I need to implant this into my Zerbit chip. Like, I don't know what the fuck it is anymore. So I'm like, yeah, I need to and then, but the audio, yeah, we'll take and we'll have some special features and stuff in there, and some other shit in there. Yeah. So, because I'd even said that if we get an encore, I'll probably do some dub impressions for that. So amazing. That'll be fun. If we do. So come out. But on the Late Show, I'll be super drunk. So make sure you want that encore. What the fuck do you guys want? They want more. More!
Fat John Wick.
Oh my God!
That would be a great comic act, just to go on the road and like open for myself, because I have this character called Baird Cardigan, which is it's spelled Beard Cardigan.
Yep.
He's the world's most alternative comic, and his opening acts are always like, once he had a potted plant was his opening act, and then one that had Ivan Decker playing Edgar Lee, the oldest, angriest racist man in the world. He's like an 80-year-old racist open for me, and then I would come out as Baird. And then so the idea would be hilarious to have Fat John Wick open to host the show. But I'd have to figure out how to be Baird as well. That'd be hard to do. Because I got a bunch of dumb characters. I was talking about this the other day. I was like, I want to do like a character album too. Have you heard 9 Sweaters by Eddie Daly?
No.
Amazing.
Really?
Amazing. That guy is a genius of character work, and I don't throw it around lightly. He really is. But I was listening to it the other day, and great character work is like this ability to not only it's not just a funny voice, it's the ability to dig into why that character says the things he does and does the things he does. One of the funniest tracks on there is the one about the tall tales, which is Donegal, Ireland's, I can't remember what he's like, the number one tall tale teller, and he does this thing, and it's I'm not going to give it away because it's definitely worth listening, but the way he snaps the character around, you're like, oh yeah, like that's not just I can do a funny voice. That's like I happen to know very well what I'm doing, and I'm very good at it. It's pretty.
Like Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen's a genius.
Disappears into
just disappears. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Like Who Is America is amazing.
Yeah,
yeah. There's some of that stuff is just like, and then you got other people who just like it's the same character every movie. Like you're just like that's just the same thing you were in the other movies. Like Adam Sandler. I mean, not to shit on him, but I think Spanglish was the only one where it was like, whoa you, like, whoa you.
I love Punch Drunk Love.
Oh, that was good actually. Yeah, I will say that. And I did like his latest special was great. 100% Fresh was really good. Really good. Yeah. What's your favorite comedy? What's your favorite stand-ups?
I move around. If Jeselnik releases something, I'll be excited about it, looking forward to it for months. Right now, I'm on a Mark Normand kick.
Mark Normand, yeah.
He's a really good joke writer.
Very good joke writer.
And then he's really funny on daytime television because he's just so.
I love that stuff when he just when he just doesn't
Good Morning
give
Cleveland
shit. Yeah, that thing's hilarious.
Yeah, and then I love Sarah Silverman, and then I got into stand up because of David Cross's album "Shut Up You Fucking Baby."
It's a good album. It's a good album.
And it was released on Sub Pop, which is an indie rock label, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then he had bands open for him on tour, and then Fake Shark always has comedians open art shows.
Oh, that's cool.
I love that kind of stuff. And
Nirvana did that too. Didn't they have Bob Goldthwait open for them?
They did.
That's
and
hilarious.
he parachuted from
naked from the roof
on New Year's Eve, and then he got booed off. It was also the day that Michael Jordan retired because his dad died, and then he said, Bobcat Goldthwait said, if my son blah, blah, I'd fucking shoot myself in the head too or something. Well, it was in Chicago.
Yeah,
like, whoa!
Yeah, whoa, right, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Leslie? Do you like stand up?
Yeah. Oh, well, I for whatever reason was brought to Randy Newmeyer's Instagram recently.
Yeah.
I actually love
really
like
funny.
the local scene.
Oh, it's amazing.
For whatever reason, I really love just when I know somebody, it makes it so much funnier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then also, upon going to her Instagram, I rediscovered Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's terrible, but
no,
it's
his
so
first
funny.
album I love.
Me too.
Yeah, he's
Harmful if Swallowed was a good album.
So
Yeah.
good.
The thing is like it's like the thing about stand up and like I think Dane he was the first one. I think comics look at it a lot like it tends to be the comics that are really good at marketing aren't terribly good at comedy and vice versa. The comics that are very good tend not to be good at marketing. Yeah. Which is why I have no Instagram followers. Definitely worth coming and checking. See, I like the way the meta of that. Like I'm marketing while I'm not marketing. Yeah. No, but I think it's true, and I think Dane got a little backlash because stand-up comedy is not a team sport, and so there's a little bit of that. But I also think that definitely the quality drop off because the thing is with comics, with bands, we kind of accept that like one album might be brilliant and one album might be not as good, but it's still got a few good tracks on it, and then the next album is really good. But with comics, we just assume that if the next special is not as good as or better than the one before, you are not good anymore. And that's a terrible place to be in any artistic field. And I think Dane suffered from that. He just blew up so huge, and the first couple albums were so huge that you just can't follow that. You can't follow yourself, no matter what you do. He would have to have, and the same thing happened to Louis. The same thing happened. I mean, it just goes on, and then the idea is that your career is long enough that you're able to recuperate from that and create more great art, which is true
for sure. And there's a sweet spot. It seems like that I feel like Bill Burr is in.
Yeah,
where it's like he's very famous, but he's not like Dan Cook was doing like round arenas,
Yeah.
and then he had this frat crowd, and I think
Yeah.
that turned a lot of comedy fans off too.
Well, he was the first one. Also, his humor is not complicated. There's not a lot of levels to it. It's a lot of, visceral, act out, big, broad stuff, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your comedy is like, see, the problem is, you don't listen to an album and go, well, this isn't music as I know it. This is, I like country. This is hip hop. This isn't music. Well, no, we say this is country music and this is hip hop music, but we don't do that with comedy.
That's so true.
Oh, exactly,
We don't genre define. The only way we genre define with comedy is by individuals.
Yeah.
So you would be like, I like Bill Burr. I like Maria Bamford. I
yeah.
like Brian Regan. Whatever you like. But you wouldn't say, I like Maria Bamford because I'm a fan of absurdist comedy.
Yeah.
Or I like Bill Burr because I'm a fan of self-referencing.
Yeah.
We don't do that because that's not how we define. That's one of the reasons why you need to very much in stand-up define yourself by what you do, by the work you put out. And that's why when you have a fan base, they tend to really latch onto you.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes the comedy can, even if the albums aren't as good or the specials aren't as good, that's why it does affect it in terms of the quality can decline over time because you're preaching to the converted so much.
Yeah.
That with stand-up, unless you're honestly getting a response, like you can tell if you're playing an instrument or singing or something, you're doing an album, you can tell if it's not as good. You know if it's not as good as before. You know if you're not playing as well as before or something, or people will tell you that at the end. But with a stand-up, you don't. You're just like, the only way I know is if they laugh.
Yeah.
And if they laugh because they paid $70 a ticket and they want to see then I don't have any real meter of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that will affect, and that probably happened to Dane as well. Like you're playing 17,000, 18,000 people, and they all paid $100 to get in. I mean, you're just like, what can I possibly be doing wrong? And you see it. But now, the celebrity level, you look at people like Kevin Hart, and it's just ridiculous. Sebastian Maniscalco, who, like, again, not my style of comedy. I mean, I like absurd stuff, but it's not particularly for me. But it doesn't mean, like, you can say a band is not good. No, you can say you don't like them. But if they're selling tickets and they're doing well, they're good to some people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't drink Monster Energy drink. I don't say that it's no good. Some people fucking love it.
Yeah.
Most of Northern Alberta is fueled by that. Oh, but we're fucking doing her. Like that's the people. Like that's what Northern Alberta is. It's just it's not tar sands. It's Monster Energy sands. That's what's going on up there. That's
Makes sense to me.
the pipeline
where I
is
was
lime
born.
green.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, bud, it's got quinine. What the fuck? But yeah, so I think quinine. No, I think that's what's in tonic water, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, used to fight malaria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't know. Yeah, I think so.
Now
What
they
an
make it without it or
informative
something. I don't know
episode
why.
of this
Yeah,
podcast.
they took the quinine. They took the malaria fighting ability out of tonic water.
When I first moved to Africa to be the Queen's envoy, I would drink gin and tonics to protect myself from the dreaded shaky bug. But now, it does not work as well. Now it does not work. Now I have to get a bug zapper.
Okay, guys. And on that note, Simon, promote your special one more time.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to see a fantastic comedy special they'll never see anywhere else? Well, it's a limited time offer. You can get it December 14th, 8 o'clock and 10:30 p.m. Make sure you buy your tickets on Eventbrite. It's going to be a fantastic comedy show. There'll be other comics on it, but I'm the one you want to see. Love me.
Is that good?
Perfect. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Comedy Here Often podcast. I've been your host, Kevvy. Thank you to Simon King. Make sure to follow him on social media. Make sure to follow us on social media at Comedy Here Often on all platforms and subscribe to our YouTube page. See you next week.